If there's one thing Apple has been obsessed about, it's making their devices thinner and thinner. Remember the iPhone 6? At 6.9mm, it was the thinnest iPhone ever. And guess what happened? Well, Bendgate. People literally bending their iPhones with their bare hands. But here's the crazy part. Apple's about to do it again, and this time they're going even thinner. I mean, you'd think they learned their lesson, right? Right? Absolutely wrong. The iPhone 17 Air is coming, and at just 5.5mm thick, it's going to make the iPhone 6 look chunky. That sounds insane, right? And I'm going to tell you everything about why this could be Apple's smartest move yet or their biggest mistake. So just hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell, and let's dive into this, shall we? So first things first, just how thin are we talking here? 5.5mm. That's crazy thin. To put that into perspective, it's thinner than most credit cards stacked together. The current iPhone 16 Pro Max is just 8.25mm thick. Okay, but here's where it gets interesting, and this is about to blow your mind. This isn't just some random design choice. Apple is literally replacing their iPhone Plus lineup with this new iPhone Air lineup. Yeah, you heard that right. No more iPhone 17 Plus, but instead you will be getting this new upgraded Air model. And to be honest, the name says it all, doesn't it? It's like the MacBook Air and the iPad Air, Apple is using the Air term again to signal something that's impossibly thin and light. But here's the question everyone should be asking. At what cost? Now, let's talk about what you're actually getting for this thinness obsession. The iPhone 17 Air is rumored to cost around $899 US. That's the same as the current iPhone 16 Plus. And to put that into Indian prices, it's exactly equal to 78,544 rupees and 72 paise. Now, don't take that figure, let's add the taxes, and now according to me, the price shall be somewhere around 1 lakh again or maybe even higher. Now that's a nice price. But if you really think about it, Apple isn't charging you anything extra for this engineering marvel, which is subscribingly reasonable for Apple. But, and there's always a but with Apple, you're going to pay in some other ways. See, to make something this thin, compromises are inevitable. And boy, they're everywhere. First up, the camera. The iPhone 17 Pro is getting a triple camera system just like its predecessor, and the Air will be stuck at a single 48 megapixel camera. Now again, the iPhone 16e wasn't really bad with its camera, but the price to component ratio was just really bad and messed up, so we won't talk about it. But hey, it's Apple, so we have some hopes with the camera. But again, for the tech enthusiast inside me, one camera in 2025? That's just... If you take a look at the camera bump, it's actually really thick. But wait, it gets worse. The battery capacity is going to be around 2800 mAh. To put that into perspective, the iPhone 16 has a battery capacity of around 4400 mAh. That's nearly 40% smaller. Now Apple might tell you that hey, our A19 Bionic chip is just really efficient than its predecessor A18 Bionic. And that might be probably true, but physics is physics. Smaller battery equals shorter battery life. iPhone know how bad Apple batteries are. The software has just significantly degraded since iOS 18. You're getting a phone that might barely last a day or a half if you're a heavy user, all for the sake of being able to slip it into your thinnest pocket. Now that's ridiculous. Now before you write this off as Apple being Apple and prioritizing looks over function, let me tell you why this might actually be genius. First, the display. We're talking a 6.6-inch screen with ProMotion 120Hz refresh rate, always on display, basically all the premium features you'd expect from a flagship. It sits perfectly between the 6.3-inch Pro and the 6.9-inch Pro Max. And in my opinion, that's a good screen size. And here's something most people aren't talking about. This thing is going to be incredibly light. We're talking a large screen iPhone that feels like holding a feather. For people who use their phones for hours a day, this is actually really convenient. But here's what I think Apple is really doing here. And this is where it gets interesting. Again, I think they're not just making a new thin phone, but rather testing the waters for a foldable iPhone. Think about it. To make a foldable phone, you need to master the art of making incredibly thin displays and components. The iPhone 17 Air is basically Apple's testing ground for the technologies they'll need to make a foldable. Samsung's Galaxy Z Fold 7, which just recently launched, is 4.2mm when unfolded. Apple knows they need to compete with that level of thinness and eventually launch their foldable, possibly in 2026. And I think the Air is just their practice run. Now let's address the Hitler in the room. Okay, no offense, the elephant in the room. Durability. We have all seen what happened with the iPhone 6 and Bendgate. At this point, you should naturally question how on earth is Apple gonna avoid such a disaster again with a phone that's even thinner. Well, are rumors again. They suggest that Apple is using advanced aluminum alloys and possibly even titanium reinforcement in key areas. But honestly, until we get our hands on and do some bend tests, and you know who's gonna do them, we won't know for sure. Thing is, modern iPhones are structurally way sound than iPhone 6 ever was and could have ever been. Better materials, better engineering, better design. So maybe, just maybe, Apple has figured out how to make it thin and strong. So here's the real question. For whom is this phone really for? If you're someone who lives on their phone, takes tons of photos on his all-day battery life, this probably isn't the correct iPhone for you. Stick with the iPhone 17 Pro or Pro Max, or even just switch back to the previous generations like us poor souls have been doing. But if you're someone who values portability above all else, just go for it because there's no question. And I think it's also perfect for the rich people who want a taste of what Apple's thin foldable might look like. This gives you a taste of ultra thin, ultra luxury experience that you might expect from Apple's next foldable. Look, here's what's really happening. Apple is diversifying their iPhone lineup like never before. Instead of just the regular Pro, Pro Max options, we are now getting the regular, Air, Pro, Pro Max. 4 distinct options for 4 distinct types of users. And honestly, that's genius. Samsung has been doing this for years with the Galaxy lineup. Different phone for people with different needs. And Apple is finally catching up to this strategy. The iPhone 17 Air might represent Apple's willingness to take risks in the market again with their new innovative products. And at a time where every iPhone feels incremental, this might be the new refresher we all needed. So is the iPhone 17 Air going to be a hit or a flop? Well, honestly, it's really going to be both. Tech reviewers and enthusiasts like us will always say that it sucks, but the regular consumers who just want something different, honestly, they might just buy it. And at the end of the day, that's what Apple does at their best. They make products that divide opinion, but still somehow sell like crazy. And hey, if you haven't subscribed yet, you are crazy. Trust me, with Apple's foldable coming the next year or next to next year, things are about to get even crazier. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.